Et en fait, il y a professeur Jean Dimobandi qui travaille à la FAO.
And Professor John Dimandi, who works at, I don't know if FAO is, yes, Food and Agricultural Organization.
Donc, comme vous le voyez sur l'écran, ma présentation va s'articuler sur 5 points.
As you see on the screen, my presentation is going to be reserved within 5 points.
Il y a l'introduction,
Introduction,
la situation de la sécurité alimentaire et le changement climatique au Burundi.
the security situation of food related to environmental change.
Après, il y a le troisième point qui va entrer dans le vif du sujet. Il s'agit des systèmes alimentaires indigènes au Burundi.
There's also climate change as in regards to food system, indigenous food systems in Burundi.
Quatrième point, initiative des gouvernements liées aux systèmes alimentaires indigènes.
And also government systems that are linked to food, indigenous food systems.
Et après, on va terminer par conclusion et recommandations.
And we'll finish by conclusion and recommendations.
En guise d'introduction, j'ai choisi vous donner quelques chiffres qui caractérisent le Burundi.
For a brief introduction, I've decided to pick some few numbers that will speak about Burundi.
Comprenez que le Burundi est un petit pays qui a une superficie de 27 834 km².
I want to make you understand that Burundi is a small country that just has 27,834 square kilometers.
Même s'il est petit, c'est un pays surpeuplé avec 12,3 millions de population. Là, c'était en 2020.
It has a population of 12.3 million. That's a statistic that was taken in 2020.
Et si on prend la croissance annuelle moyenne de 2,23%, vous allez comprendre qu'actuellement, en 2023, on est en train d'approcher 13 millions d'habitants.
As you can see, the average population is 2.23%. The growth population, sorry.
OK. Autre chose qui est nécessaire de connaître sur le Burundi, c'est que plus de 90% de la population dépend de l'agriculture.
A big chunk, 90% of the population depends on agriculture.
Et ce secteur-là, secteur agricole, contribue au produit intérieur brut à hauteur de 40%.
The GDP, sorry, the agriculture contributes about 40% of the GDP.
Voilà. Et les superficies de terres potentiellement agricoles sont évaluées à 23 500 km².
The part of the size of the country that is responsible for agriculture is about 23,500 square kilometers. So it's a big agricultural country.
Voilà. Ici, j'ai voulu vous montrer au niveau de la carte. D'abord, là, c'est une carte administrative qui montre les provinces qui constituent le Burundi. Et il y a les pays frontaliers, comme le Rwanda au nord.
And this is a small map. La carte.
Okay.
Voici la carte. Sorry. This is the map of Burundi showing the provinces, and it also shows the neighboring countries. As you can see, there's Tanzania, there's Rwanda, and this other side, there's Congo.
Voilà. Une chose importante aussi que vous devez connaître, c'est que actuellement, le Burundi est composé par 17 provinces. D'ailleurs, c'est 18 ici, on inclut la mairie. Mais à partir de 2025, on va réduire le nombre de provinces à 5, de 18 à 5.
Wow. As you can see, the provinces have been many, but they are small, small little provinces. And from next year,
En 2025.
From the year 2025, they're going to reduce the provinces to come back to 5 from 18.
Voilà ce que vous devez retenir du Burundi.
That is one thing you need to remember about Burundi.
Alors, en arrivant sur le deuxième point qui parle de la situation de la sécurité alimentaire et changement climatique.
Coming back to the food security, the situation of food security as in relation to climate change.
Vous retiendrez que la sécurité alimentaire au Burundi est généralement influencée par le comportement pluviométrique qui à son tour aussi est influencé par les effets du changement climatique.
Food security in Burundi is generally influenced by the way the rains come and go, just like in Kenya. And as you can see, that is directly related to climate change.
Par exemple, au Burundi, nous avons d'abord deux saisons principales. La première saison qu'on appelle saison A et la deuxième saison qu'on appelle saison B.
In Burundi, we have two special seasons, climatic seasons. The first one is called season A, and the other one is called season B.
Voilà. Et on a trouvé que au cours de la saison 2022A, on avait le taux de personnes qui se trouvent en insécurité alimentaire de 19% parce qu'il y avait une perturbation climatique. Et pour la saison B, donc 2022B, comme la pluviométrie était normale, on est descendu à 12%. Ça veut dire de 18% à 12%. C'est pour montrer effectivement les effets du changement climatique.
So as you can see in the season 2022A, there was a bit of delay in the rainfall. So that made the food security reduced to 19%. And as you can see in the second season, which is season 2022B, there were rains. So food security again now grew up to 12% because of the rain seasons.
Voilà, c'est pour cette raison que le défi que nous avons au Burundi a été résumé de la manière suivante. C'est de nourrir la population burundaise à travers l'amélioration des facteurs de production, une gestion efficace et rationnelle des ressources, tout en faisant face à la démographie galopante et aux phénomènes liés au changement climatique.
That's the reason why they decided to work together with the local population to increase food security. And they realized that the most important thing is to improve on the factors that depend on climate change and rainfall in particular.
Et je dirais la devise de la haute autorité du pays, s'il faut comprendre le président de la République du Burundi. Donc, sa devise, il faut que chaque bouche ait à manger et que chaque poche ait de l'argent.
Yeah, so the concept that the president of the country made sure that is installed was that every mouth has to have food and every pocket has to have money. This is their motive that is put in place to drive development in the whole country.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you go there, you'll have money in your pocket and some food to eat.
OK. Et sur cette diapo, j'ai voulu vous montrer comment le taux de personnes qui se trouvent en sécurité alimentaire fructifie. À partir de 2017B, en allant jusqu'à 2023B, le taux de personnes en sécurité alimentaire a quitté 19% vers 12%.
So this one is a small graph to show you how the population reacts to the food security. And as you can see that in 2017, in the season 2017B and season 2023B, there was a reduction from 18% to 12%, as you can see in the map.
Voilà. Même si on observe cette réduction, à l'intérieur, on constate des fluctuations qui montrent que, effectivement, la situation de la sécurité alimentaire varie en fonction du niveau de la résilience de la population.
Ça, il faut refaire encore.
Bon, je dis que le fait que le taux de personnes en insécurité alimentaire varie d'une année à une année parce que la population n'est pas résiliente face au choc.
Oh yeah, you can see the difference in the graph shows that the population of the country is not really resilient, and basically there's that movement depending on the shock that depending on how the climate change affects them.
Maintenant, on arrive sur le sujet qui nous occupe au cours de cet événement.
So now to start the heart of this event,
je vais parler des systèmes alimentaires indigènes au Burundi.
is going to be able to speak on indigenous food systems in Burundi.
Je souligne que la plupart des aliments indigènes peuvent être regroupés parmi les produits forestiers non ligneux.
Most of the food, the indigenous foods in Burundi, are basically products of the forest that are not pronounced.
Si vous pouvez alors voir la liste de ces produits forestiers non ligneux que nous pouvons trouver au Burundi.
A small listing of these foods that you can find in Burundi.
Les champignons, les termites, les sauterelles, le miel, les fruits, les légumes, sans oublier les gibiers, les top.
So from the start, I'm going to mention the ones that I can pick nicely. The champignons are but the mushrooms. That one is, you can see, the termites. The sauterelles are the small grasshoppers. Lo miel is honey, and the fruits, the vegetables, and the tubes, kama ile na furafura mguu, ile onions and stuff. And gibier, je connais pas le
Ce
gibier.
sont les animaux sauvages.
Gibier,
Animaux sauvages.
they are basically wild animals, like antelopes and stuff. And then taupe, which is traditional meat harvested from the animals in the forest.
En fait, la taupe, c'est un petit animal à rongeur qui ravage surtout les cultures qui ont des tubercules, parce que c'est un petit animal qui vit en dessous du sol dans les terriers, quoi. Il y a quand même quelque chose que je dois souligner. On mange la taupe parce qu'il y avait, je crois, on peut parler d'une idée qui disait que ça guérit le kwashiorkor. La viande de la taupe là.
Taupe ni mnyama fulani inatembea chini ya mchanga kama ile panya wild rats. Na inakula wanyama, inakula plants from the bot. It's like a mole, but it's the family of mole. And a certain season before, people used to eat it because there was this myth that if you eat it, it can help you treat kwashiorkor. So a lot of people, so people started feeding on them like that. Yeah. It was a way of encouraging the people to eat that wild rat for food. Yeah.
Voilà. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'il faut dire? Ces aliments-là, ces aliments indigènes-là, Ce sont des aliments qui sont riches en termes d'éléments nutritifs, mais aussi certains d'entre eux ont des vertus médicinales.
Yeah, most of these animals and most of these plants, people eat them for nutritional values, but also some also have medicinal values.
Autres aliments indigènes sont constitués par des cultures qui existaient au Burundi longtemps avant le début de l'époque coloniale.
Most of the indigenous foods have been carried forward since before even the colonization came through.
Vous soulignez le sorgho qui avait une signification culturelle très importante parce que c'était une culture qu'on utilisait pour lancer l'année agricole.
Yeah. There's this one called sorgo, which was being eaten to mark the beginning of the planting season. It's called sorgo.
C'est le même cas que les lésines. Les lésines, c'est aussi un céréale qu'on on préparait la pâte et c'était on utilisait la première fois, on utilise pour manger, commencer donc à manger le produit de l'usine. On pouvait donc partager le repas au niveau du ménage pour lancer donc que la récolte de cette céréale-là.
This second one, Elysian, is like some kind of grain that was being eaten also to signify the end of the harvest season. And people used to eat together. There was like a ceremony linked to it.
Voilà. Donc, c'était interdit de manger dans un autre ménage avant d'avoir partagé pour la première fois au niveau du ménage.
So in a household, it was like very much prohibited to eat it in another household before you eat it in your house because it was a great symbol of harvest. So you had to eat it at home first before you are able to eat it in other people's houses because that is the first harvest of the farms that you've harvest in the family. So it's like a family celebration of harvest.
Voilà, une autre culture qui date de très longtemps, qui représente les tubercules, la colcasse, c'était une variété très ancienne pour manger. Donc, quand on a cuit ça, et qu'on on essaie de pincer comme ça sortait. Ça sortait de l'écorce.
Ah, okay.
Jusqu'à présent, ça existe, cette variété-là de colcasse.
This colocas was very special. It's a certain type of food that was masked inside, and you had to press it like this for it to come out. It was like a seasonal meal that you ate also during that time of harvest. Yeah, during harvest, yeah.
Voilà, ici, je vous montre quelques images de ces produits forestiers dont José doit parler au-dessus.
A bit of images of these products that we've been speaking about from the forest, yeah.
C'est ce que vous avez trouvé sur le stand là-bas, sur le stand du Burundi.
These ones have been displayed at the stand of Burundi. So those who have not visited the stand, please make a point of going to visit so that you can see them there physically.
Voilà. Nous avons été heureux de constater qu'il y a parmi vous des gens qui ont été intéressés par certains de ces produits, notamment les termites là.
Yeah, we realized that a lot of you, there are some of you are very interested in these products, especially the termites. You're invited to go and have a look at them at the Burundi stand. Yes.
Maintenant, je vais parler de quelques pratiques, bonnes pratiques ancestrales, donc anciennes, très anciennes, liées au système alimentaire indigène au Burundi.
Now we are going to speak about some ancestral practices that are linked to indigenous foods in Burundi.
Voilà, la plupart de ces bonnes pratiques sont relatives à la conservation de ces aliments de façon artisanale.
Yeah, then the most marking thing is the level and the way of conservation that they use to keep these foods for a longer period of time.
Le premier point parler de la conservation de la viande arrêt de d'hiver et cela pouvait aider à conserver cette viande pendant toute une année. C'est une pratique traditionnelle très importante. Là, entre parenthèses, c'est le nom qu'on donnait à ce produit-là qu'on venait d'avoir en mettant la viande dans le beurre. Ça durait longtemps, jusqu'à une année.
Ah, okay. Hii hatuna huku kwetu. Sorry. They have a way of that they used to conserve meat for one full year, and it's very interesting because they used butter to conserve the meat. In Burundi, they call it ikindu. It's a way that they dip the meat inside butter, and that way they can keep the meat for the whole year. Somalis do it as well.
Okay. Voilà. Au niveau de la viande, il y avait aussi une autre pratique. C'était de suspendre la viande au-dessus du feu. Ah. Comme ça, on a levé toute l'eau. Donc, c'était une façon d'extraire l'eau de la viande. Et ça restait là-bas. Et au fil du temps, on pouvait prendre un morceau pour aller manger.
The second one is another way of conserving meat that they used a lot. They suspended the meat on top of a cooking area so that all the fluid inside the meat could drip off. And that one, they could eat it bit by bit as time goes by.
Une autre bonne pratique pour la conservation du maïs, on attachait les épis de maïs sur une corde qui est suspendue sur la charpente dans la piscine.
Yeah, the other on the third one is a way that they were using to conserve maize is they were tying it also and hanging it in front of a cooking area or somewhere where there's a lot of smoke. I think that was also to take out all the fluids in the maize. We use it also ukukwetu. Même si chez nous aussi on utilise ça.
Voilà. Et pour le lait, en termes de conservation artisanale, c'était beaucoup plus pour attendre qu'on puisse extraire le beurre du lait. C'est ce qu'on appelle le barattage. Voilà. On pouvait donc conserver le lait pendant tout un mois et puis faire cette pratique de barattage pour extraire le beurre.
The fourth point is a way they used to conserve milk for one full month, also with a vision of getting the cream that they can use for the conservation of meat. So nile kuiweka 1 month, iweke itoe ile mafuta iko juu, and they remove hiyo mafuta to make the butter. Sorry.
Il y a une autre bonne pratique sur les légumes. C'était le séchage au soleil. Et puis, on transformait ça en poudre qu'on pouvait conserver. Et chaque fois qu'on a cuit le haricot, on pouvait prendre une certaine quantité de poudre et mélanger avec le haricot. Donc, c'était une façon d'enrichir le repas.
Oh yeah, for the vegetables, they had a way of drying them and grinding them to powder so that they can use it later. Then whenever they wanted to eat it, they would take a small portion, cook it together with the other meals. Yeah.
Voilà, arrive sur les tubercules. La conservation des tubercules s'est fait longtemps dans le sol.
For the plants that have the tubes, they could keep it under the soil for a certain period of time to make it last longer.
Dans le sol, donc, on pouvait faire une récolte échelonnée. Ça veut dire que on récolte petit à petit, ou alors on peut récolter une certaine quantité et enfouir dans le sol. Comme ça, si on veut prendre une quantité pour cuire, là, on va donc enlever du sol et préparer alors pour la nourriture pour chaque jour.
Yeah, so for this underground storage, they could either harvest in bits or maybe harvest a big chunk at a go, make a hole in the soil, alafu wanaidipu ndani ya hiyo shimo. So whenever they want to cook it, walikuwa wanatoa tu kaportion kamoja, wanaipika, alafu wanafunika hiyo ingine tena. So it was like a method of conserving the tubes in the soil.
Une autre pratique très intéressante, c'est que on pouvait aussi conserver les grès dans les cendres. C'est la même chose même pour les tomates. On peut conserver les tomates dans les cendres.
This one is also a special way of conserving grains that they used was sonde ni kama jivu. Walikuwa wanaweka hiyo mahindi kwa jivu. I think that is a practice that we also use in some parts in Kenya, where you dip the grains, you unaweka jivu hivi kuifunika ndio michwa zisikule. That one also for the tomatoes also they use that design of conservation.
Maintenant, nous arrivons sur les initiatives du gouvernement liées au système alimentaire indigène.
Now we are going to talk of government initiatives that are linked to indigenous food systems.
C'est pour montrer que le gouvernement du Burundi déjà a commencé à penser à la promotion de ce genre d'aliments indigènes.
It's to show that also the government has really been dedicated to promoting the use of indigenous foods in Burundi, which is a very good thing.
La première initiative, il y a la collection des aliments indigènes dans le jardin botanique et dans les parcs à Bois de l'Isabou.
One thing that they've done is they've set up this botanical garden in different parks, and one of them is in the park of Isabo.
Le Burundi s'est joué à d'autres pays du monde au sein de l'Organisation internationale de la protection des plantes autochtones et médicinales.
Burundi is also part of an international body that is the organization of the International Organization of Plants, and it's an organization that is basically protects the plants and the indigenous plants for medicinal uses.
L'autre initiative qu'il faut noter, Isabou, à travers le partenariat avec Crop Trust, déplique la conservation des plantes autochtones médicinales. Donc, une partie se trouve au Burundi, l'autre partie en Allemagne. C'est ce que le directeur de la recherche a expliqué hier, le fait de conserver plus d'un pays pour la conservation des gènes.
He says, as was stated yesterday, the presentation yesterday, the government has a partnership with the Crop Trust that duplicate the conservation of these plants, and part of it is in Burundi, and the other part is done in Germany. So it's like an intergovernmental coalition plan to promote the conservation of these plants. Sorry.
Il y a la domestication de la culture des champignons. Que, tout à l'heure, on vous a montré que les champignons étaient des produits forestiers. Mais maintenant, le Burundi est en train de promouvoir la culture des champignons à travers des coopératives des collinaires.
The government is also working hard to promote basically the growing of mushrooms at home. As we had seen earlier, that these mushrooms are growing in the forest. The government is working hard with the different cooperatives to encourage people to grow the mushrooms at home.
Et c'est très important de souligner que on a donné beaucoup d'importance au niveau de la culture des champignons parce que d'abord, nous avons vu que le Burundi est petit, c'est-à-dire que nous n'avons pas assez de terre. Or, la culture de champignons, on peut produire beaucoup sur une petite terre. Voilà.
Yeah, the government, as you can see, Burundi is a small country that doesn't have a lot of vast agricultural land like other countries. So the government has put more focus on the growth of mushrooms in-house because you don't need such a big space to grow the mushrooms. You can build a small house like this that you're able to harvest even a ton of mushrooms in a year from it.
Il y a aussi une autre initiative très importante que le gouvernement a mis en place une direction et a dans ses attributions les produits forestiers non liés.
Yeah, the government has also put an initiative of protecting forests and the harvest of all these forest-based indigenous plant foods.
C'est la direction là, la direction que le gouvernement a créée qui s'occupe des produits forestiers non liés.
Yeah, I forgot that there's a special branch that the government has created that is overseeing all this. That is telling me I forgot.
Quand il y a cette direction, c'était une façon de montrer l'importance de ces produits forestiers. La direction va s'occuper de la promotion alors de ces produits forestiers non liés.
Yes, this body that the government put was to show how important is it for the people to learn how to conserve these plants. So this is like a government, proper government initiative that was put forward to take care of all the products that are from the forest, especially the products that can be eaten, the edible products from the forest.
En 2021, on a mis en place une feuille de route pour le renforcement des systèmes alimentaires. Et dans cette feuille de route, il y a une place aussi pour la promotion des aliments indigènes.
Yes, between 2021 and 2027, the government also put another initiative that was set up to reinforce the indigenous food use in the whole country. And that is basically just to exploit that area in a much more extensive way.
Le ministère de l'Agriculture et de l'Élevage a commencé le processus de créer des agropoles dans le pays. Les agropoles, ce sont des centres, je dirais, des centres pour le développement de l'agriculture où on doit améliorer toutes les chaînes d'aliments, notamment en commençant par la production, la conservation, la transformation, la distribution.
Yeah, the government was
Dans un centre, dans un gros centre.
Oh, yeah. In the initiatives that the government has put forward, one of them is they've created a center of production where the research is done and all these development programs for commercializing the use of indigenous foods. The government has put up an initiative under the Ministry of Agriculture that oversees all the elements of exploiting the use of indigenous foods, from sales to marketing to preparation and all that, research and all that.
Voilà, en termes de conclusion, nous disons que les aliments et les systèmes alimentaires indigènes sont d'une grande importance car ils ont beaucoup contribué à l'assurance de la sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle de nos ancêtres.
To conclude, we've seen that the indigenous foods have way much more contributed to the food security in the country based on the nutritional ways of our ancestors.
Dans le contexte de la région subsaharienne en général et du Burundi en particulier où l'insécurité alimentaire reste préoccupante, nous avons noté que la contribution des systèmes alimentaires indigènes reste indispensable.
In the sub-Saharan region in general, as Burundi is part of it, food security has remained a very important element, and all the contributions that are being put by different governments to promote the use of indigenous foods is very, very much important.
Ici, nous recommandons les institutions de recherche de penser à faire assez de recherche sur les systèmes alimentaires pour donner de bases solides avant les vulgarisations.
On the second bit of the conclusion, we say that all institutes, all research institutes should think of promoting a lot of research on indigenous food systems to give a solid base on the exploitation basically of this field. A lot of research needs to be promoted, a lot of work needs to be put so that more people can use indigenous foods as much more than the way it is right now.
Et enfin, le pays africain, le Burundi, inclus, sont recommandés de revenir à les bonnes pratiques relatives aux systèmes alimentaires indigènes qui ont fait preuve de bons résultats.
So he's saying here the African countries, including Burundi, are recommended to put in place all the good practices of indigenous foods, that is, all the practices that can be put in place to promote the use of these foods. And that is the end of. And merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for listening so passionately and patiently.
Entre-temps, l'image que vous voyez, c'est l'image de tambouriner. Et vous savez que le tambour a été mis parmi le patrimoine culturel de l'UNESCO.
Yes, in this image, you can see the traditional drums of Burundi. And this drum has been put as UNESCO. I don't know how to say that in English, but it's one of the UNESCO. The way you see, the way as they do our sites, the touristic sites, it's like one of the patrimony. Exactly. So this is one of the UN icons of Burundi. It's like a way of visiting tourism. This is one of the main elements of tourism of Burundi. Thank you very much.
Si vous avez des commentaires, des questions, je suis ici pour échanger sur ça.
The floor is now open for observations, questions, and recommendations from you. Jaro, fanya na French.
Commandez ma questionnaire. Yes, comment or recommendation or observation. Observation Kioria. Anyone? Yeah. Nikiorie on your observation.
Say, I'm Alice from Muranga. I have an observation, putting food in the mouth and money. You will achieve that. You will have achieved everything. Having money and having food is everything. Thank you.
Danke. Amayo ni Kijerumani. Danke ni Kifrench. Another person? Observation, questionnaire. Okay, I think your presentation was quite well elaborate.
Thank you.
And I see the only it was a congratulations to you because of the comment you put there. Food is also money. Asanteni sana. Tumpigieni makofi tena. I remember Daktari once told me that we do farm, and we go to the farm, we put a lot of energy to the farm. Once our crop is ready, we put it in pickups and cars, we take it to the market, and then we come back home buying food from the market with the money that we get after selling our food. So what was the essence of farming if you go to the market and you buy food and yet you had food in your house, but you took it all into the market? Yeah, Daktari, before I invite the next speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Mercy. Thank you so much. An observation is that the indigenous systems are common in Africa. The foods you've mentioned, they're all common to us. We eat termites, but we pretend because we've gone to school and we are speaking English better than the Englishman. We eat wild and those small wild animals. I remember we used to hunt for rabbits when I was growing up, and the porcupine with all its those pines, are they called pines? Iyo megues, those spikes, we used to eat them. But I think now I'm highly educated, I cannot eat that. I have to eat meat that is full of hormones. So thank you so much. In fact, what we are showing is the face of Africa, that we don't need any foreign food. We are well provided for. And you have 2 seasons, like here, we have 2 seasons. We have the long rains that start in March, and then now we have short rains. In fact, this El Nino is part of the short rains, but they have become El Nino. And then El Ninos are not strange in Africa. They come after every 21 years. And here we are being scared. It's only because somebody decided to baptize it in 1998. That's when a certain white guy decided it is El Nino. And now we are following. So yesterday I talked about systems, how we are controlled by systems that we don't understand. Systems that tell us that you cannot eat a mole. System that tells you that you cannot drink donkey milk, which is highly medicinal. Systems that tell you that you have to uproot your tooth instead of using Sodom apple to treat a toothache. This is what we are trying to demystify. So Isaac, thank you so much. And I hope we are going to form a collaboration. This is what we are trying to do. Tomorrow we are going to conclude how all African countries, we're going to appoint the granary ambassadors. And I hope you'll be a granary ambassadors in Burundi. And then in Kenya, we are going to have granary ambassadors in every county, because we have to restore that granary. And we have to patent our granary, because a certain white man is listening, and tomorrow he'll be patenting the granary. And he will say it was his invention. They're always discovering us. Yeah, so thank you so much, Njoro. Continue.
Yeah, by the way, on that patenting, do you know there's somebody in the America, in the US, who patented the Kiondo? Oh, there's a country that has patented our kiondo, and now it's Japan, eh? Yeah, Japan. They have taken now, they're stealing our ideas, and then they are making them theirs and making money out of them. There's some reaction here or a questionnaire.
I think this one is for Dr. Njoki. And I'm saying it's going out. She's going out.
Okay, asirudi. Yeah.
Thank you. It goes to Burundi. Team, thanks a lot for that presentation. I wanted to get it clearly how they used to conserve tomatoes. This come out very clear.
How to preserve tomato because it's a perishable good. You mentioned about potatoes, or is it tomatoes? Tomatoes.
Est-ce que le traducteur est là? Ok. Ah, bon, en fait, c'est mentionné au niveau des bonnes pratiques de conservation. C'est là où nous avons dit que comme pratique traditionnelle, il y avait la conservation des tomates dans les cendres. Ce n'est pas une pratique qui est répandue, mais on a noté quand même que c'était efficace, qu'il y a moyen de la promouvoir.
So the tomatoes, the way the tomato conservation procedure that involved dipping it in jivu inaitwaje kwa Kizungu? Ash, exactly. It was not widely used, but the few people who knew how to use it tried to keep it. They used to dip it basically just literally in ash. Exactement, on les mettait dans la cendre.
C'est simple, c'est simple. On prend les tomates et puis on les met à l'intérieur de la cendre et ça peut tenir, ça ne pourrit pas directement. Ça peut prendre quelque chose sans pourrir.
Ilikuwa inawekwa jivu, ilikuwa inawekwa hivi alafu inadipiwa ndani. Okay, it never used to keep it for so long, but at least a few days, a few weeks, bila kuharibika. Yes. Alex, you know it as well. You've seen it, you've tried it in your place. Yes, Alex is also going to elaborate a bit more on it.
Donc, ce sont des pratiques simples, en fait. Il ne faut pas croire que ce sont des pratiques qui sont développées au niveau des industries. C'est artisanal.
Yes, they're traditional practices that are very simple. They have not been industrialized. So it is basically low level, really traditional. Yeah. And just for a short period of time. Not really to keep them for 1 year. So it's just for a short period of time so that they remain as fresh as possible when it gets to the time of consumption.
Okay. But maybe you can give us like a timeline. Is it a week, 2, maximum?
Wiki moja, wiki mbili hivi
Wiki
maximum.
moja mbili.
Yeah, sio mwaka.
Good. Our next speaker, I think, also has some ideas on preservation. Comes from the land where they recently Kenya discovered that there is a huge deposit of water under some places in Turkana. Big deposit of water that can feed East Africa for a whole century or something, I don't know. Well, his name is, again, we said we are using our African names. Alikuwa karibu anipea Kizungu nikakataa. Namuya Ergai. I hope I pronounce it properly. Namuya Ergai. Na sasa hatuna wimbo. hatuna wimbo ya Kituru. Unaweza tuimbia moja ya Kituru? Una wimbo gani? Utaweka baadaye. Okay. Sasa the floor is yours. Welcome. Take it away.
Good afternoon. My name's Namuya Eregai Alex from Turkana County. Turkana County is around 77 kilometers square before I just get to the presentation. And it's one of the counties that recently, yes, we have discovered water in the Otikipi Plain that can be used for 70 years, both in agriculture and drinking. So by Kenya, entire Kenya population can use it for 70 years. That was the discovery that was done. And one of the discoveries that is also in Turkana that I know it's not related to this is the oil deposits. It's around 2.5 billion barrels, something like that. So Turkana is, I know it is a big county, but with little production. But to us, there is something that we are doing. I'm getting back to the presentation. We are here because of World Food Program that have sponsored us to be here through Vijana in Kilimo Biz project that is really bringing youth to agriculture and also doing it as business. As you see, just before I go to my next slide, you see our mother wearing normal attires at home. So they are just in a drying, in a hybrid dryer or a normal dryer, artificial dryer. This is not a normal one in tradition. And if you see, the thing that is being dried is the tubers, the orange flesh sweet potato that was discovered. I think much information was got from Uganda. Much of orange flesh sweet potato is one of the indigenous that originates from Uganda. According to, I think Calro is aware of that because the technology and everything, we've got it from Calro, Kenya, and we get fines from Calro, Kitale. If you read this information, orange sweet potato is commonly found in Uganda and Kenya and is low in sugar and high fiber. And also, there's something that has not been considered as having exceptionally high vitamin A and iron and zinc. Especially this one is very important, and because when you get to benefits, you will see it helps our mothers so much and children, so that especially when regular use of magic plant, which is we call it magic for us because it could enhance your good vision, healthy skin. Your skin could be light, make it light, and also if you drink the porridge, I think you will get to the foliar addition. If you drink the porridge from this, it's just wonder because you don't need even to eat lunch. You can only drink that porridge in the morning and stay up to evening without any meal at lunch. So that's one magic about this sweet potato. If you see growth of bones, improved immune system, because some of us go to hospital. So now that this one is one of the solutions. Thank you. If you see also, there's pieces of oranges, flesh potatoes to make the pastilles, fruits. What we do with it, we have fruit juices, banke, ampeza, whatever, all those things. But the important part of it is at the planting. These are youth. I think you have seen some of them here. Two of us are in part of this photo. You have seen that lady is here. I'm there. trying to make sure our mothers and our other youth get to know how to plant the sweet potato vines. The foods that we get from this, I know some maybe will see like it's something hard. We know we have already a recipe of this. If you also need it, I think it's available with Calro, Kenya. Calro, yeah, research, whatever, because they get to teach us and we really did it. You see chips, the one that we have been told we are getting chips from wherever, the viazi ingine ya nini, but the natural viazi, it's organic chips, cakes. We have mixed beans and whatever and other foods with that. We have additive as an additive wakati unakula nyama ama other things. You see how we can prepare. For you to have seeds, you need to have a seed propagation. So that's how we do seed propagation for orange flesh sweet potato. And you see orange flesh sweet potato at the farm. That is in the Katilo irrigation scheme. Now, there is one thing that we are trying really to do as youth to make sure this one is also maximized in terms of production. You see kunde, which is cowpeas. There, yes, this is the technology that we are getting, we are using. That's one of the mother that I supplied that bag. That is a vertical bag. If you see vertical bags, we are told, and it's not even we are told, it's something that I have done personally, and it's one of that bag gets to around 100 plants in it, and that 100 plants gives you a week 10 kgs of that vegetable. And also another good thing is that it uses only 20 liters of water for a week. So that means that in areas like where I come from, where water is one of the challenge, this is one of the technologies we can use also to plant African leafy vegetables, because I'm passionate about that most of the time. If you see, and on how to prepare it also, yes, I have the knowledge and I have some videos. So if you wish, I can also share. Production is done conventionally currently in Katilu, in all part of Turkana, because there are 3 sub-counties in Turkana that do much of agriculture: Loima, Turkana South, and Turkana East. And much of it's done conventionally. But currently, I've already done a supply of like around 42 bags, and some are planting amaranthus, managu, na African nightshade. I think, no, African nightshade is managu, and amaranthus, and terere murere, those things. So all of those vegetables we are promoting in Turkana to make sure the African indigenous vegetables are part of our life. And in production, this is what we have done. And personally, this is what I've done because I've produced. If you see, and that's the pricing in Turkana, that is everything that's within Turkana, because I'm one of the farmer. So that's just statistics. I think I'm done. I think there's another part that I think we have. Yeah, okay, it's okay. Now I want to speak something that I have not put in part of this, because it came as one of the things that Madam Njoki told me to really give it out to you. And it's something that is happening in Turkana. It is very indigenous knowledge. One of it is milk. I know some of you have heard from my brother from Burundi. For now, they keep meat, but I will tell you also that one. But milk, for us, there is that part of when you put milk for like 2 to 3 hours, the upper part of it, the upper layer part of it, we always take it and dry. How do we dry? We put it outside. We put it in something like we have our wooden bowl. We put it into outside for some like few hours, because our sun is the temperatures are very high. We put it for like 3 to 4 hours. It dries. Once it dries, we use stones. There's that stone. We have 2 stones. You You just make it to be flour. Once it's flour, it can stay longer, like 2 years, 1 to 2 years. You can still use it as your milk. And that one happens for goat and I think cow, also camel milk and donkey milk. Sawa. Also in meat, there is something that we do in meat that I know some of you are passionate to hear. There is a name, we call it ngatosa in Turkana. It's something you can't miss in a traditional home in a Turkana homestead. We cut meat into like a robe. And we suspend it in the house, inside our normal Turkana house or normal traditional African house. You put it like you suspend as like in that zigzag line. Yeah? It leaves some part of it suspending, but within a robe up there, the house. And sometimes we put it into the wooden part of that we have used to prepare our own house. So once it dries, and we don't remove it from there, it stays there as long as we are alive, because it takes around 5 years for you to eat that. So you can even prepare a whole cow or a whole donkey and do it like that, and you can still be able to eat every now and then. But especially milk, we do it so that we use it at during dry seasons, because in our area we only have maybe one season that we get water, and maybe our goats, our cows get enough shrubs to eat. So when you see that one really gives us enough food for tomorrow and other seasons. So I think I'm done from that point. But before I leave, there is also issue of ash that I forgot before I leave here. Ash is one of the things that we love. Even meat, we also use ash sometimes to preserve, but our preservation with ash, with meat, it doesn't take more than a week. So it just keeps for a week for ash. But seeds, if we want to keep seeds for the next season that we have harvested from our farms, we use the ash, and it can stay even a year without any interference of any insects. Sawa. I think that is, I leave it from there. Maybe another day we'll have more. Thank you. Maybe I welcome more questions and comments if there are. Yes. Eh?
Madam went
to... Oh, you are outside, eh? Okay, sorry. Yes, I have shared already. It's already with Mr. I think Benjamin. Yes. Yes, maybe Madam Joki to get some few knowledge of what we are getting. If you come here, this is kunde, which is cowpea. This is the traditional one. Then, yeah. So what we are trying to do now is that we are transforming people because of issues of water. Yeah. We are getting to vertical bags. I think ni ile tu hapo imefunika hiyo vertical bags. Those vertical bags gets around the least you can get in the market. It has 100 holes that accommodates only 100 plants. And this 100 plants gives you, once it starts to be ready weekly, it gives you 10 kgs of it, vegetable. And this vegetable, you repeat it getting weekly until it diminishes. Again, the good thing about it in Komba, it uses 20 liters of water weekly. So that is one magic for us, because we are really seeing it will improve our food security aspect. And also in terms of market, because if you do it in terms of cost, I think cross margin analysis, if you do for vegetables, a kg is 30 bob. For sure, if you have 10 kgs, that is around 300 shillings in your pocket, especially for us youth. That is like 300 shillings. If you have like 10 of those bags, that is already you have 3,000 in a week. So it's one of the things that we are really trying to make sure our people embrace it. I know it has not get it much, but we are really trying our best to make sure this information is with them. I think I'm welcoming Mr. Njoro to give me more
Okay.
comments.
Kwanza tumpigieni makofi. Watu wameboeka kidogo. Haya tumpigie peperusha, kamata, angusha, 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 angusha. I'm coming for you. Okay, sawa sawa. There must be some reactions from that presentation or a question or a Congoli kumwambia something. Probably anybody? Yeah, they are here. Yeah.
Thank you for that nice presentation. I just want some clarification that you can store your grains using the ash. How do you do it? Do you mix it or you pour your grain in a container, then you put the ash on top? I just want to get that clarification.
Okay, there are two ways. Okay, sorry. Maybe I receive all the questions. Maybe I answer it.
You can still use that formula. Or else it's a hub. Note them some.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Namuya. My question is related to Mr. Poles. That is, I wanted to get the ratio of the seed and the ash. Now, the other one is just a comment. As a way of preservation, I think we need to be a bit careful. If we have to preserve any type of food and the smoke is in touch with that food. So it's something we need to keep up to take care of because of prevention of cancer of the esophagus.
All right. In relation to that, I would want to ask to also use his question posed to you. In terms of preservation by smoke, are there specific firewood trees that we use? Because the trees that has some odor, a smell that sometimes can also affect the quality of preserve. Nimeona mkono hapa.
Asante sana Namuya. First of all, is to appreciate whatever you have presented, because for sure that is what we need in our homes. And that's what we should train our children to embrace, so that we will not rely on what is being offered in the market, but in a small area, somebody can be able to maximize and produce. And also for you, it is good because it is conserving the water that you have scarcity. Now, I think we shall be taking it up from there, because now you have vast land, but you don't have water. As we have small land, but we do not have space, but we have enough water to grow. So it is also a challenge to the people from the central province. Use that technology to provide yourselves with the required greens that we need, our indigenous vegetables, and they do very, very well. That is my area. Thank you.
Right. Okay, now for your reprieval.
Okay. Maybe to get to the two questions, and maybe one complement later. On the ash use, maybe to give some few clarification on ash. We use ash only to preserve, mostly currently we are using it to preserve seed grains. Seed grains, why? Because we don't have other alternative, personally. If you dry grains and put it without ash, it will be eaten by other insects. But the quantity, I think the quantity is one thing that our brother wants. The quantity is that if you have 1 kg of seeds, maybe, for example, you can just put a half kg of ash. So it can still stay to be okay. So you just mix it. But there is also an alternative too that is not, I know it's not well used and some people misuse it. You can put some water, you see, so that you mix some water with ash and then you put your grains, you bring out to dry, then you take it back to your bag or whatever, or your candle, and it can still stay okay. Yeah, but that one is not much used because it needs a lot of knowledge and time for you to do it. But this one of mixing, it's just simple. You don't just take the grains, put the ash, and then specific tree. For us, the fileable tree are two, but the one that is commonly used is acacia tree because it's very fast and available for us. But we also have, I think there is a famous tree. I don't know. For us, we call it vitamin, but and we have many names for it. It's also used for the same. The hash from it is also used for the same. But the mostly used one, because it's available, is acacia tree. Sawa sawa. On compliment, maybe on my sister, thank you so much. But on that technology, it can be used anywhere. The vertical bags, vertical gardens, they are available. These are smart agriculture techniques that we are using in Kenya, in part of those areas to make sure we conserve water. I hope that is okay. Yeah, thank you.
I asked you about for the meat.
Yes.
Do we use any tree, any wood, or the specific for preservation of meat?
Yes. Okay. We have other herbs, but I don't want to really bring them out because they have not been done in terms of research. But the ones that we are using it is eoi. Eoi is which is acacia tree, I think so, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's the one that we are using. In our language, it's called eoi. Yeah, because it's the ash from it and also the smoke is not bad. It doesn't have any much in issues interference, or it doesn't bring more of issues of diseases. Yeah, because the only thing that has brought maybe the same disease, maybe like our brother said, issues of cancer in Turkana, it's just tobacco. The use of tobacco is one thing that already is only bringing the issue of esophagus or whatever, and all those diseases in Turkana. But our people also have realized they are changing into other things because we are also getting other herbs that they are using like tobacco. Sawa sawa. Yeah.
All right. Nice presentation. Asante sana. Good inspiration to the youths. Wale tuko hapa wachache. Mnaambiwa kama inafanyika, if it's working in Turkana, then we don't have a reason to say we can't.
I wanted just to add a compliment, but this one is for you, Njoro. You're asking about the preservation of meat, but I wanted to tell you, I remember my grandmother used to use this, ile moshi nashika kwa nyumba huko, alafu saa zingine inaanguka. Nakumbuka alikuwa akitumia kama dawa. Sijui kama kitambo nyinyi mmetumia hivyo. So kwa sisi kuna pia, mwenzangu amesahau, kuna miti moja inaitwa Esekon. Esekon jifu yake, ash, is a medicinal. When you have a constipation and you go to take just a cup of, you just mix kidogo na unakunya hiyo cup ya hiyo jifu, constipation unajisahau nayo hapo. So it's one of the traditional tree that we use as a medicinal, and tunatumia pia kama mswaki. Mimi situmii brush na Colgate, never. We use that. I carry that hata nikipanda ndege. Sawa? And also I had something to ask Dr. Njoki. You went out. I remember yesterday you said according to Al-Kebulan, we lose our culture, and we were introduced to a human operating system. That one led us to forget the way. So my question is there any model put in place to disseminate about African indigenous food to the community back there? Is there any model? For example, as in Turkana there we have a model introduced by WFP called FSC Farmer Service Center at the community level. What of here? Is there any model put to disseminate information to the community back?
Thank you. We are talking about African indigenous knowledge. Yeah. And what, if you go in depth, and I like disappointing people, any aid we get in Africa from the West, there's something tied to it. There's a time I was invited in New York to talk on the issues of aid in Africa. And I was invited as a beneficiary of aid in Africa. And I think I was almost being kicked out of the venue because I started by saying that if there was no problem in Africa, there would be no UN. There would be no FAO. And the biggest employer and the people who are highest paid, and somebody is wearing a jacket, are the UN employees. I've worked there. I've worked in those diplomatic offices. The allowances are massive. UN is a non-governmental organization owned by countries. So it's not in business. So where does it get money to give to Africa? I'm throwing it back to you. So an African problem should have an African solution. Because he who feeds you controls you. And these are the systems that are controlling Africa. And we are made to be so much afraid that we cannot speak. That a forum like this, there are people who have taken their time and money to sabotage this forum. Seriously, to an extent of misdirecting people here. That is how much the world doesn't want Africa to solve the food crisis. That is why right now the focus is on minerals, and we are really being convinced that we have minerals. But what did Professor Geturo say? You can't drink oil. You can't eat gold. So the most precious thing that we have in Africa are our soils and our climate. This forum, very funny. I've been approached for multinationals. They want to support, but I've said no. Because immediately they support, we lose the agenda. And it becomes the agenda. Why do you need an organization to come and solve your problem in Turkana, whereas he's already shown us how Turkanas are solving their problem? Why should a white person tell you how to preserve your meat? And that is why I insisted he should tell us how Turkanas preserve milk. And can I surprise you? The Turkana community is the first community in the world to produce powdered milk in the 16th century. Using indigenous knowledge. Now we are importing powdered milk from I don't know where. Has anybody come to Turkana to ask about that knowledge? Will you be allowed to produce that milk? You will not. But you can do it at home level. That's why this forum is focused so much on household economic development, restoring the granary in the home, because the granary is actually the life of the homestead. You can do complete value chains as long as you have the granary. You will propagate your seed. You will store your meat. I have eaten what he has said, the meat, and I was told it had been preserved for 3 years, and it was still fresh. But what was happening in Kenya last year? Thousands of our cows were dying because of drought. Yet we have that knowledge where we can cull our herds before the drought. I lived with some Rwandese and Maasais. Sorry, those who are from Burundi. Turkana is one of the semi-arid areas in Kenya. Very dry. And the pictures we have seen about Turkana from when I was growing up are very malnourished children. Pictures of poverty. Then I decided to go and work there. And I was surprised on the richness, first of all, of the culture. And there's no poverty in Turkana. But somebody created poverty for Turkanas and gave it to them. They saw pictures of naked children. There was one photo that was making rounds in the early 90s of a young girl. There was drought, a serious drought then. A small girl who was walking to a feeding, how do you call them? Feeding center. And there was a vulture following her. That was in Lokitang. And instead of the white journalist giving something to this girl, he followed her with a camera. Until that kid died. And the vultures started feeding on her. And he was given a Pfizer prize because of that reporting. This is what we have been reduced to. This is what we've been indoctrinated to believe, that we are poor, that we don't have, that we have no direction, there is no development. And that is why we are talking about the indigenous knowledge. Our indigenous knowledge does not need any system. You heard the speaker, where is Gashambi? We pass our information by storytelling. Are you telling stories in Turkana, or are we waiting for a white man with a white van to come with a basket of goodies and then we start telling his story about us? We are working together. It's a high time we start feeling pain. Until you start feeling pain because of being looked down at, until you feel pain of being humiliated, we will continue being the slaves of the West. So the application, the indigenous knowledge is within us. It is in our DNA. It's in our languages. It is spoken in our proverbs. If you think about the African proverbs, all about teachings. That to read a book. You don't need a book to read that. A good child will always have somebody to clean them and clothe them. That is an African proverb, which is a narrative. That is how we pass information. But with technology, we also look at how well can we document our information? How can we package it? How can we teach it to our children? So that our children don't get as indoctrinated as we were. Yesterday, I spoke about our brews, and somebody there, the professor from Muranga, also talked about our brews, and I saw some faces standing in the in the audience, because we are not supposed to talk about our brews, they are evil. But we can comfortably talk about wine. We can comfortably talk about whiskey and brandy, but we cannot talk about buzaa. We cannot talk about ukomboti. We cannot talk about moratina. What do you have in Burundi? Oh yeah, Ivek Isongo from sorghum. Imeke is the one from Song. I took that. I didn't get drunk. Konyagi, Makobo. We can't talk about that, and they are associated with the backwardness and evil. But if you look at the ingredients and the production process of our brews, it's very healthy. They're nutritional. They are relaxing. In Africa, the whole of Alkebulan, we know chewing on a sugar cane is an antidepressant. But now we are being sold sugar as an antidepressant and some other antidepressants. So this information is in our DNA. We know it silently. We don't need to go to any school to learn how to be us. But it is very easy to unlearn to be what we've been made to be. If Turkana solves the food crisis, where will all those NGOs, how many NGOs are in Turkana? I can tell you, there are 1,200 and something. And CBOs and NGOs plus UN itself. So if you solve your problem, you are rendering people unemployed, and they will not allow you to do that. But the question is, and I'm throwing this to ourselves, do we continue letting someone control our health? So that's why we have to get angry. It's only by getting angry that we will be able to push this agenda of feeding ourselves. And I'm excited that you are able to teach the community in Turkana to grow vegetables. I worked with the Minister of Agriculture in West Pokot and Turkana. And the report we were giving every month when I was a civil servant, it's about food aid. Food aid. Until I asked, we have Lake Turkana. It's a freshwater lake. Can't we do irrigation? And somebody from the World Bank told me, no, that's not possible. We'll kill the fish. Why? Because if we started irrigation then, that was in 1991, we could have solved the problem today. So it is a fight. It's not a walk in the field. But we start by accepting who we are. We are Alkebulan. We also, second thing is to get tired of being looked down at, because that's where I got to. I went to a conference again it was in Netherlands, and there were interpreters, French interpreters, Spanish, Portuguese. Then I asked whether there is a Swahili interpreter. There wasn't. I asked whether there is an interpreter from any other language in Africa that I can understand Zulu. They said no. Then I kept quiet. So when my time came to present, I did my presentation in my mother tongue. In 10 minutes, there was a Kiswahili interpreter and a Kikuyu interpreter. Because I said, there is no way I can talk about my country in somebody else's language. It's unfortunate that we are using that language. So that's how bad it is. So this is a calling. This is a calling. Turkana County, Bungoma, it was Turkana, Bungoma, Madera, Garissa. They had the lowest cases of COVID because of what they eat. The rest of us, the people of rice and stew and spaghetti, God have mercy. So it's first of all identifying with who you are. And I'm having a fight because I'm telling people, start with the name, because our African names are a narrative. They talk about something. He was telling us yesterday about the names in his home. I have decided to move. Nimehama. Wajohi Moreu, But that does not mean that person is our Njohi, because our Njohi Moreu, it's all connected with the Kikuyu brew. Geshoke, Joke, Mwai. And all of them were diviners, because the brew was not brewed by anyone. Because there is a spiritual attachment with our brew. That is why our fathers were able to bless us with it. Brew, it's not alcohol. Is a difference. The food that was given to a pregnant woman, it was full of iron. And there's a very special vegetable that Kikuyus call mohikanaihu, one who gets married when she's pregnant. And that vegetable is specifically for expectant mothers, because it is full of iron and zinc. And when our women, in fact, I was fed with that when I was expecting my firstborn. I think I took only 15 minutes in labor. And I saw the same with the Pokot women and the Turkana women. There are no CS cases. Are there CS cases in rural Turkana? Because of the herbs they give these women. They know how to position the baby. They know what to feed this woman every trimester, that by the time the woman is ready, she'll not labor for long. Then there's no risk of her losing blood. So this is what is being killed slowly by creating that dependency system that tells you you cannot. You're living in an arid area. How can you? That is why our people are sitting back in Ethiopia, in Somali, and even northern Kenya, waiting for the cattle to die, and then asks the UN to come and give us relief food. That is what we have to demystify. We have that knowledge in us. And yesterday I also mentioned about the food, the oil. Our fathers ate taro. Pokots, Karenjin, Masais, they still live on taro, the animal fat. And we have very few cases of those communities suffering from diabetes and blood pressure. Look at the regions where we use vegetable oils. That's where we have lifestyle diseases. I did my research in most of the northern part of Kenya, and I found the cases of cancer are very few, apart from the urban areas. But in the rural communities, they are very few. Yet they still take their milk raw. Sindio, you find a woman is milking and the kid is sucking on the next breast of the cow. And then somebody comes and tells you, no, you have to boil that milk. And you're not giving a reason. Yeah, for the cows that you feed on hormones, maybe we have to boil. But we got to think about the indigenous knowledge that has been handed down to us. Yes, you had Professor Kiringai talking about documentation and patenting, not only documenting, patenting. And I mentioned here as a passing word that we are always being discovered. So somebody will discover indigenous knowledge, indigenous foods and food systems, and they will patent and they'll sell it to us. Look at the standards that have been given in the global market platforms. We have two standards. Standards for the European, the Western market, and the African standard. Right now, we are exporting a lot of meat to Britain, to China, to Saudi Arabia. I have a friend who is involved in that business. But what they are exporting, it is indigenous breed. They are giving us the Toggenburg and the others. but we have to sell them our indigenous goats. And we get very excited receiving the token bag and giving back our goat. So that is how we are losing what is ours. And we need to get angry and own what is ours. I'm saying this in conclusion. The timekeeper is not telling me we are out of time, so I will continue talking until tomorrow morning. But by the end of the day tomorrow, we will form a way forward. And as I have said, we need ambassadors, granary ambassadors in every country. We will have consultations with the ambassadors who are in Kenya. The African ambassador, we already started the communication from yesterday. I received a call from the ambassador of Malawi, the Cameroon ambassador. I think they talked with them. And we want to have a group, not one person, just a group of ambassadors to restore the granary. People who can look beyond the handouts. And I like looking at our forefathers, what they did when they got tired of colonization, being humiliated. They didn't care about themselves. And every time I give that narrative, I feel like crying because my grandfather died. He was buried with his head facing down because he was a diviner and he was helping the freedom fighters. They got tired and they were ready to die for us. My question is, are we ready to die for the future generations and for the future of Alkebulan? The whole world is relying on us. They're relying on Africa. But the West is very ready to wipe us out and they come and occupy. Have you seen what is happening in West Africa? There is no war in West Africa. See what is happening in Somalia. See what is happening in Congo. Those are our brothers and sisters. I hear my community came from Congo. Those are not wars. Those are situations created so that some people or the system can benefit. And I'm not afraid of saying that. We have to own what is ours. Manjaro mentioned as a passing word that we are exporting our baobab trees. I have a farm down coast in Kilifi, and I witnessed baobab being uprooted. The whole tree. Why? Because a baobab have more than 100 medicinal benefits. And why can't we extract that medicine? Us, and we understand it. It has to be taken to California. And then somebody will sell it to us as supplements. So if you're tired of being sick, if you're afraid that you're not going to live to be 100 years, because for me, I'm not in a hurry. Sijachoka. I want to stay for another 60, 80 years. I'm not in a hurry. We need to join together. In Kenya, we can have ambassadors in every county. Then every country in Africa can look at the system that they have and see how they can create the granary ambassadorial systems in their countries. I hope, Isaac, you'll take that one up, or your brother. I already have somebody in Malawi who's saying he's going to take that. I have some people in South Africa, Ugandans. And we have a lot of support from the Africans in the diaspora and the Black community all over. They are ready to support Alkebulan, and some have started coming back home, tracing their roots, and they're coming to us. So with those many remarks, I would like to close. I know I've scared you. I'm a teacher, so I'm used to scaring my students in class so that I can convince them it was a good lecture. But we need to do something for ourselves and for the future generations. We need to patent, not only document, patent that meat. Patent that system of storing that meat. It needs to be patented. Patent that system of processing that powdered milk. We should patent our buza, our moratina. We should patent what is ours and own it. I made a joke about somebody wanting, I think it's 2 years ago, he was trying to claim the Kenyan national anthem tune, which is actually a Pokomo lullaby. And he was saying that he's the one who invented it. That's what I'm saying. We are always being discovered. So let us join hands. Let's work together. Roots Kenya, you're already working with grassroots women. Now we can move a step further, not only producing food, but storing and processing our food, making sure that we are fed. So with those many, many remarks, I want to wish you a good evening. We meet tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Tomorrow we'll have our SMEs doing their presentations because we want to give them that platform, that global platform to show what Africa can do. I hope we'll have somebody from Burundi to talk about the innovations that you have surrounding the indigenous system. We'll have somebody she's a Kenyan, she's in Ghana, but she'll talk about conservation in the morning. Indigenous food system as a way of conserving our environment. Then after that, we'll have somebody from a financial institution, K-Unity, who is one of our main sponsors, who will talk about the financial and economic opportunities along the indigenous foods and food systems, because it's a very rich value chain. Think technologies, think food production, think packages, think marketing, preservation. It's a huge economic opportunity. And then after that is when now we'll have the SMEs doing their presentation. So with that, I want to wish you a good evening. Enjoy yourself, pass through where the SMEs are, encourage them, buy something, and may God bless you. We see you tomorrow. Let us end with our national anthem and the African Union. And please let us all learn the African Union anthem. Those words are spiritual, they are beautiful. That we are sons and daughters of the sun and of light. Thank you. So that is how I talk.